BooBaes. BooBaes.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
My name is Caitlin.
And this is Joshua.
Yes, and this is a show called
BooBaes.
BooBaes. Yeah, cute. It's a nice little double entendre. We love titties, except for you don't.
Well, yeah, but I can appreciate.
Yeah, you can appreciate a good
art.
pair of boobies.
Yeah,
And everyone has tibbies.
we do.
So
Guys
even
included.
ghosts.
Anybody.
Ghosts have tibbies.
They're my favorite kind of
Ghost titties.
titty having kinds of beings.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Well, we're
Anyways.
here to talk about, some good old horror.
Yes, this is a place where you can find all your horror needs. We are not professionals in any way.
Not licensed in any kind of sort of thing.
This would be like me starting a food blog.
But you like to eat.
I do love to eat, and I love to watch horror.
Overqualified already.
Yes. So, I've seen a lot of movies. I own a Shudder account, okay?
Yeah.
I think that means I'm a professional.
My Shudder comes back every October.
Well,
September to October.
Shudder, you need to sponsor us, because I'm going to mention you like 6 times today on this episode. Just saying.
Little,
Anyways,
plug
we're
there.
already famous.
Very much so.
Anyways, but yeah, so a little bit about us. Get to know your bae. That's us. We're the baes.
And this is all the booze.
Yes.
So
Don't boo us though.
I've always loved horror, because I don't know, there's something about the thrill of getting kind of sucked into a whole different world, and you're just like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Was there a specific movie that, or book, that really was like a pivotal turning point for you, to where you were like, I like this shit. I'm hooked.
The Blair Witch Project.
The original. Right,
It is what it is. But man,
Well,
I watched
I love
it.
the original.
Well, I watched it too when I was I had to be 7, really young. And so we were in my family's living room, and I just remember my dad leaving at some point, but we were too enwrapped in the movie that we didn't notice. And his favorite thing is to scare us growing up, and so we all kind of do it to each other. And I find myself doing it to my friends, and they hate me for it. But he scared the living daylights out of all of us, and I just remember that feeling and being wrapped in darkness, and I was terrified of it, but I liked it.
Oh, I forgot I have a good demon voice.
Ugh, we'll have to work that in later.
Yeah. Anyways.
But yeah, and then ever since, it's just that with sci-fi, but that's a different tangent. It's my favorite genre. I just love it, and it's just it's such a free creative license too, because there's no rules. Well, there are rules, obviously.
Yeah, it's got to be. But then there's.
But there's not, because
Yeah,
there's
it's
just so many. There's so many niches within horror as well.
Yeah.
It's just, you can do anything.
You really can.
Mm-hmm.
You can.
It's beautiful.
For me, I think the movie that made me really be I really love this shit, it was probably, and it's kind of goes down as one of my all-time faves, is Hitchcock's Psycho.
Classic.
I do love it. It's not, for the time, it was scary. I wasn't around during that time, wasn't even thought of. I don't even think my mother was. Maybe she was.
Yeah.
But it was scary for then. It is
Yeah.
obviously not scary now.
Well, now, because we're so desensitized to everything.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because
back
most
then-
everything is not scary to me. I watch it and I'm like, so if it gets a jump out of me, I'm like, oh, damn.
that's
Or
a
if I
good
find myself struggling to sleep at night, because a lot of the times I fall asleep to horror movies.
Yeah.
So it's and I live in a house with haunted dolls.
I've met
a billion. Yes.
I can confirm.
And I sleep with them, not in the bed couch with me, but they sleep on my walls.
They sleep in your house with you in it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not scared.
No. Well, it's all about the mind.
Yeah.
It's all about what you allow to consume you.
Yeah.
Basically, in a way.
True.
But yeah, so I love that.
The one that the one that actually freaked me out though, and that I still have a slight fear, paranoia to this day, is a very obscure movie called Milo, and it's not the one with the little gremlin looking Milo.
Okay.
It's this weird movie I think it's just a random kid. I don't even think he's an alien, but I remember him looking kind of what's their names from Star Wars? The are they called Jawas? Are those little tink tink ones in
They look like
Spaceball?
the little bears?
No, those are Ewoks.
Ewoks, my bad.
So Jawas, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, like Jar Jar Binks.
No, like they're the little ones that are in that big. They're like in the sand, and they drive that big old thing, and they're the little short ones with the pointy hoods. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe they're called Jawas. He kind of looked like that, but in a raincoat. Like he kind of had those glowing eyes on the cover and stuff. Anyways, there's this point where he's crawling around in the air vent on the floor and like watching this girl, and so I have a weird fear of like floor air vents. I don't know why.
You never know. There'd be a Jawa, and they're just watching you, ready to strike.
To get me. And then I also have a fear of canopy beds from the movie The Haunting. So, which is also based on the Haunting of Hill House. It's based on Hill House. So that is also based on the book, whatever. Yeah. Anyways.
Which that's even in itself is so cool, how like so much horror in movies is pulled from actual like real life, quote unquote events, So. Exactly.
Like the movie we're going to talk about today.
Good segue.
Yes. Look at that. I'm a natural. We're going to be talking about
The Exorcist.
Dun, dun, dun. Wow. A classic. We sat here for a while trying to decide what it is we were going to do as our first movie because we tried to go back and figure out what our favorite horror film is. And like, while I love Psycho, there's so many others that hold that could arguably hold that spot. Yeah. It's just that one holds a special place, but I don't know if it's like necessarily, it's just like a all-time favorite, but it's not necessarily my number one.
I get what you mean though. Like
it's like 0. It's 0 on a 1 to 10.
For me, also too, I mentioned the Blair Witch Project, but Darkness Falls was also a really big one in my childhood that like was like, oh okay, I do like this.
For novels, Stephen King and Pet Sematary was, I think, the first one I ever read. It's the first Stephen King novel I read. I love it.
See, I need to get into that because I was never a reader.
When I was younger. I have a few of his books at home. I can lend you them. My cover of The Shining, though, is about to fall apart. It's very old.
Last threads.
Yeah. Anyways, so The Exorcist, we boiled down to it because we both felt that it was, it's an actual classic.
Very much so. And it's actually inspired so much, too, after it. And there's so much that it, like, draws from The Exorcist.
It was really the first of its kind with touching on religion in a way that that wasn't, like, kind of talking only about the good side of religion. It showed some of the nasty parts of believing and choosing to have faith, or not choosing, and then possibly letting in other things.
It's actually a really, like, going through it and watching it, it's like the dialogue and the character development throughout it as well.
It's hella like, progressive. Yeah. And then, it's just wild. We watched it again last night because we figured we should get a refresher. Because it's been years for me, like at least 10 years since I've seen The Exorcist.
I'd say just about the same for me. And it was like right after high school.
It's because it's not on any streaming services until I found it on Showtime, but they're taking it off tomorrow. So like,
we literally caught that shit.
Yeah, we did. Thank God, or someone.
You're welcome, you guys.
But yeah, there's so many other documentaries and stuff out there. Like I watched quite a few on Shudder.
On like the making.
And stuff, just all about the movie. But of course, it's actually on there, which hopefully maybe that's why it's coming off Showtime. Maybe it's going to Shudder. I would like that.
Transferring.
They did just get American Werewolf in London, which I was like, wow, good job, Shudder.
Yeah.
I was like, you need to have more classics. I will say, Shudder has the best. I sound like I'm fucking sponsor us already. Look. This isn't an ad. I just legitimately use Shudder.
Shudder has the best original content.
They do have some very good original content. And then they also have the best collection of foreign horror films for Americans. I don't know if they have it otherwise. Everywhere else, if it's not made in America, it's foreign to me.
Yeah. I think that's the concept.
Yeah. And so they have some incredible ones. So I think that's really cool. And I hope that we can cover. Like Indonesian
More
horror
of those, yeah.
is hella good.
So stay tuned, you guys, because you gotta stick around for that.
It ain't gonna be just all classics and stuff. We're gonna get into some weird new ones too, because there's quite a few that I've seen that I love.
And who knows? Maybe they haven't seen them and they'll get into it.
Yeah, exactly. Go watch the movie after you hear our commentary. I took notes.
I love it.
I'm amazing.
I took notes in my head.
Yeah.
So back to the movie.
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah, and also too, I was touching back on that subject of like it's a presence. Is like even back then, you know how you would see videos of like ladies like fainting walking out of the movie theater because they're so disturbed by what they're watching.
So I actually called my mom and asked her, because my stepfather was born in 69 and no, 60 something. Anyways, he was 11 when the movie came out. So it came out in 73. So he was not 69 was when he was born.
Yeah.
But he couldn't go see it because he was not old enough in theaters. But he said his buddy Clyde, I think was his name, I don't know, went and saw it, and he had to sleep with this like 16 or 18-year-old man, had to sleep with his parents for the next 3 days because he was so disturbed after leaving the theater and seeing that. And I think that is beautiful.
It really gives justice to the director and what he wanted to accomplish.
Oh yes. Yeah. So there's really so much that can be talked about with The Exorcist. So I used to run another show called What's Your Excuse? And at one point on there, we covered exorcisms, or actually Ouija boards. And I chose to cover what's his name? Did I text you his name?
Ronald Doe.
Ronald Doe or something. Oh yeah. Okay. The Exorcism of Roland Doe is the like actual real life case that kind of inspired, that had a lot of parts that inspired the actual novel of The Exorcist, which is what the movie is more or less based on. He definitely took some major chunks from it, but he also left a lot out because he was like, I want it to be. I watched the documentary with him talking, the producer or director talking about it this morning, and he was like, I just wanted it to be like straightforward. I didn't want all the flashbacks and everything that are in the novel, which I've never read the novel, so I no fucking clue.
I have no basis for it.
Yeah. But apparently he's got a whole bunch of flashbacks and stuff like that, and he was like, nah, I just want it to be. So that's what he gave us. So The Exorcism of Roland Doe, he was a young kid, I believe. I don't know. I'm not going to even quote. I did a whole thing on it and I don't remember. Anyways, his aunt was somewhat into like witchy stuff and spiritualism.
That's how it starts.
Yep. And she like had a Ouija board one day and they were messing with it. And then I guess he went and like messed with it on his own, which that doesn't, I was saying that I thought that David, the kid that was, that was in The Conjuring.
That's a different movie.
Right.
That's next week's episode.
We watched that, yeah. I'm so confused. Anyways. But she does play with the Ouija board too.
She does.
She does. Okay.
Reagan. She does. Because she finds it in the closet somewhere in the basement or
and
wherever
she's talking to Mr. Howdy. That's right. Yeehaw. So he plays with this Ouija board, welcomes a spirit demon, and essentially gets possessed.
It's always a demon. It's never a friendly ghost.
Nope. It's like, hi, I'm your mom. And then it's like, psych. Get in your pocket.
They got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of like exactly what happened. For his exorcism, though, 48 people were present. Just like sitting there eating fucking popcorn.
Oh,
I guess.
watching.
Yeah, watching. Yeah. They're just chilling in there.
Like a sideshow.
Yeah. Watching. They're like, ooh, you want to go see an exorcism today? Like,
it's only a penny.
Yeah. Yeah. They went and watched. They made a nice profit off of this young boy's soul.
Anything for the money. Anything for profit.
Yep.
I can totally see that though, because back in the day they used to could do that kind of shit.
I mean, yeah, they had public hangings, so
go watch
why not a public exorcism? But yeah, so that is who Roland Doe is, who inspired the original Exorcist novel, hence the movie as well. Let's see.
It's funny because I guess was the novel written by William Peter Blatty?
Yes, I believe
his name,
so.
Right?
Yeah.
Him and the director are both Williams. That's funny. It's like it was meant to be.
He wrote it. Now, I believe the book was actually published in 69. And then he created the film, or it came out in 73. So
it's 71.
Oh, it was
novel.
71.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the novel is.
The novel.
Okay.
But the movie.
Damn, that's a fast turnaround.
It really is.
Honestly, I feel like no book comes out now and they're like, "Hey, let's make a movie about it tomorrow." Like
it takes like years of pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just some fun facts that I kind of picked up while watching that documentary this morning on Shudder, and it's called Leap of Faith, and it's all with the producer. He's sitting there talking. What's his name again? William something.
William Friedkin.
Freaking William.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so he's the director, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I keep getting the word producer and director. What?
Well,
they
because
got a
he's
difference?
the same. I think he was the same.
He also pretty
no.
much put all the music in by hand because he went to like 3 different composers, like world renowned, like some of the best composers in the world, and was like, "Fuck you, I don't like this music." He was like, "I know you're the best, but this is trash that you just." It's like you insulted my film, and so
he had a really clear
idea.
intention with what he wanted to make.
He's low key a dick.
Yeah, well, what he did to. Well, are you about to jump into that?
I will. But
he was not a nice director.
No, he really wasn't. And part of it, like watching this Leap of Faith thing, I was like, he's like a narcissist.
Cringe.
And I can see it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm not here to talk about his personality. He said there's a film, I've never seen it. It's called Ordet. I don't know. He said it real fancy. Okay. And I just wrote it down the way it said, and I'm going to say it
sounds
phonetically.
like a French word or something.
Yeah. I don't know. But it is like the only film that at all inspired him or influenced him with like the way that he wanted to go with the film, because it had just some like beautiful moments. And then again, he was really interested in pursuing like religion in a light that's not as like kind. And so, or not cheesy, because then you got like the 10 Commandments out there, like
that's true, and everything that was probably out at that time. But also too, I maybe not necessarily not kind, but more so like just the truth of it. You know.
Yeah.
Everything.
The fact that the devil's there. He'll get inside your body. I thought this was cool though. The opening scene there is an actual like archaeological dig that was happening
at that time, and that's what they were filming.
Yeah. So it was like a German archaeologist there with the help of, they were in Iraq, right?
It was Iraq.
Yeah. So with like help from them, and he pretty much came in and was like, "I want to just have this home guy walk around, and we're gonna film y'all. Is that okay?" And they were like, "Okay." And I'm like, really surprised they let them do that,
right?
Because like they could have fucked up so much artifacts and stuff.
And they probably also were just like, didn't know what it was for. So they're just like, oh, okay.
Whatever.
But those opening shots too, though, like, I don't know what movie inspired him or what that looked like, and also throughout the whole movie, he had some really, like, cinematography, the framing, like, it was some really nice shots.
Yeah, he talked a lot about, like,
transitions. And
really wanting very specific, like, angles and stuff like that. I thought it was cool. The music that's happening at the beginning is literally just somebody dipping their finger and rubbing it around the rim of a wine glass. Yeah. And that's all that is there.
Sometimes the most simplest things are what make the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Another funny fact that remember at the beginning where he is then sitting there drinking that little beer thing and taking his heart meds. Yeah. And then he's like kind of looking around and stuff, and he sees the guy who turns with the milky eye or the one eye. And so
demon eye.
Yeah, it's pretty much all of it is like kind of a premonition, but he said the only metaphor that he ever meant to put in was like the Saint Joseph medal that they find, and then he kind of tosses aside, and then the metaphor of it like falling. And he was like, literally the rest were accidents. He's like, people just kept on interpreting it. And he was like, I didn't mean to. He's like, that really wasn't my intention, but like, cool.
Yeah, I'm glad I'll see it that way.
Glad you found all that for me. He was like, I was just doing what felt right. I was going off of my instinct.
Yeah.
So I feel like pretty much he was like, I'm low-key a genius. Did it all unintentionally.
And then that
glad y'all picked up on it.
Yeah. But no, it was all really, there are a lot of moments where it's like almost foreshadowing of like what's about to happen, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, because there's so much in that. Yeah. And then he said, I mean, obviously when he goes, so the name of that demon is Pazuzu. And so he went and looked Like, obviously that is like a premonition, a very obvious one, saying like, oh shit, something bad gonna happen.
Something wicked this way comes.
Yes. Anyways, yeah, we can talk about how he was a little bit of a dick.
Yeah. How he slapped Linda Blair, I think, right? A few times.
Something I remember. I know that one scene, the masturbation scene, and when Linda Blair falls back, that the pain that's recorded on her face there was real. She fucked up her back in that fall. I don't remember if she was pushed or like if she was made to do it so many times or something. That is covered in the Cursed Films documentary, which I knew I had seen before, but I couldn't remember. And so I watched it when it first came out.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember exactly everything that happened there. But I do remember, she was, the pain that happened, like after Reagan was saying like, lick me, which that film is vulgar.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There were some parts too where I was just like, ooh.
Like still, yeah.
I forgot the actual dialogue.
Exactly, yeah. I forgot. I was like, holy fuck, they're saying that. And I was like, this is, whoa.
I think about the back in the day when it came out in 73. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a whole fucking cross going into her vagina. Also, man, her vagina was torn to shreds.
Just bloody.
Just, man. Ouch. I can't
when
imagine.
She put her mom's head down there, that sent me. I was just like, wow.
Yep.
The audacity.
Poor mom. And so, yeah, and then that's exactly right after that is when she falls back. And that scene, and when she hits the ground, you can see like her hand automatically flies to her back and her face like looks like it's audibly like, or I mean,
in pain.
Yeah, very much in pain. So I think he also maybe made her do it again or something afterwards. I don't know. He did punch homeboy in the face. One of the guys, so the guy who comes and delivers the last rites to the person who fell down the stairs. He's an actual priest though. He was not an actor. Ben Daniels, I believe. Father Daniels. No, Father Dyer. William O'Malley. Father Dyer.
That's the one.
Is who comes and delivers the last rites, but he wasn't, I don't think, an actual actor. And so, I mean, for the rest of it, he was just really being himself, being a priest,
what a priest would
father.
do.
Yeah. But at this point, he couldn't deliver the emotion to like, I mean, but the body was pretty convincing looking. Like,
it really was.
I was like,
there with his little fists and hands clenching it.
I'm like, I feel like I could start crying looking at that. But essentially, he couldn't do it. So he asked him to stand up, asked, hey, what's going on? And he was just like, I just can't. And so then he just turns around and then punches him in the fucking face and says, action. And I was like,
if you ever wanted an expression out of me, that's the way to elicit it.
I would have been angry. I would have just been like, motherfucker.
Maybe he was just so in shock. But also, too, if things had already been going on prior to that, he probably would have expected it.
Yeah.
Because I know that he was...
And they were friends. But I don't punch my friends in the face. I don't know about y'all.
Whatever it takes for the art.
Yeah, I guess so. He said, those tactics wouldn't fly today. And I'm like, no shit. No, they wouldn't. He also... There's a one point where Jason Miller, who plays the main priest, Damien...
Father Casas. Something like
that. Anyways, there's one point where he's sitting down, and they needed a very jolty, startled reaction from him when the phone rang, and he's sitting there, and the reason that Damien's character looks so freaked out when this phone rings and jumps, literally it looks like he jumps at least 3 inches out of his seat, turns around, is because this motherfucker shot a rifle right behind the camera. And so it was he just heard a gunshot.
Yeah.
And we heard a telephone. But so
the power of post editing.
Yeah. So he just did a bunch of crazy shit like that. Another cool thing that I thought was Father Marin, who was in the beginning and then who comes in and at the end, and throughout the whole thing. So he also said he only likes to do one take, and it's because he likes the spontaneity. He wants raw emotion in it. So he's pretty much you better not fuck up.
Yeah. No pressure.
Yeah, exactly. But Father Marin's actor was pretty much struggling with the scene where he had to go declaim the demon and be like, pretty much like, get the fuck out,
Mm-hmm.
pack your bags. And so he was having trouble like conveying that emotion and like the actual power that needed to be behind it to be like, yo, demon, get out.
Very authoritative.
Yeah. And so he pulls him aside and he's like, what the hell is wrong with you? And he's like, why can't you do this? And he goes, he just said, well, I guess it's just that I don't believe in God. Mm. And so then he was like, what the hell? Because this actor also literally played Jesus in an older film.
His name's Max von Sydow.
Yes, Max von Sydow. And so he played Jesus at one point, and he was like, well, you literally played a religious character. Like, what the hell? And he was like, well, I just played him like a man. And he goes, well, then play this like a man who's fucking going head to head with a demon. So he did, and then he had the emotion right. And that's the scene they used. He was like, it was like a completely different person. He said, it pissed me off because actors are supposed to act. And I was like, oh, God, like, at least you got your scene.
Going in, all the shade.
I was like, damn, sir. Okay.
He's like, we filmed our movie. I got what I needed out of you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally understand it, though. It was his baby in the end. Like, that's what it was. Like, I mean, probably be, like, written on everything. Like, this is the only thing I cared about in life.
Well.
Hi, I'm Hank. You might remember me from a show called King of the Hill. Check out a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. These boys ain't right, but they are funny. Find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com. I tell you what.
And I mean, the longevity that it's had afterwards. I mean, we're here talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Nearly, almost 50 years later? Just like, I feel like, I mentioned the Cursed Films documentary earlier. Yeah. That The Exorcist was another one that, obviously, it's the first movie covered in that documentary series that I mentioned. But I feel like Poltergeist is kind of more well-known as like because I think it's more recent. Yeah. As like, and it had a fuck ton of deaths associated with it.
It did.
As being like the most cursed film. But The Exorcist also had a fuck ton of deaths and just spooky stuff.
That happened on set as well, right? Yeah.
One of my favorites, which I remember I learned about this while listening to, I believe, My Favorite Murder, which is one of my favorite podcasts. There was a serial killer on set. And so when he played one of the doctors as they were doing the scans on her brain. So that was Paul Bateson. He was born on August 24th, 1940, and he is an American convicted murderer and former radiographer. And so he appeared as a radiological technologist in a scene in The Exorcist. And
that is wild.
Yep, and which inspired blah blah blah. Yeah, so he was just there. He was already.
Was he already a serial killer before this scene?
Yeah, I think he was like killing people at that time, and he just hadn't been caught. And then he was an actual radiographer, and so I think they used actual people. They just were like, here, I need.
Yeah, not actors.
Yeah, I needed to look like real. So they just went and they filmed it, and then so he's one of the radiographers that's in it as a convicted serial killer.
Talk about
so that's fun.
Coincidences there.
I know. I was like,
I wonder
damn.
if the movie itself then perpetuated more killing, or.
Oh yeah, maybe. Just got all in it.
Well, I wonder when. Well, that's a whole different subject. I wonder when he was caught and all that. Then.
Yeah, I don't remember all that. I didn't look up that much.
Because filming is before then the movie comes out.
Yeah,
that's
and then
crazy.
They're like, "Whoa, that's the person that killed my sister." Like,
for real, right?
Why is he on this television?
That's how he was found out.
Yep.
A thriving serial killer though with an acting career. Could you imagine? We find out George Clooney one of these days is like a serial
I feel
killer.
like you're in a high
Buffalo
profile
Bill.
enough spot. I feel like that would be the way to do it.
You can get away with murder.
Yeah, you pay people off.
That's crazy. It's already happening.
I'm gonna do it.
We're about to get
the moment I
shut
get
down.
famous.
The whole lights shut down here.
But
back to the movie.
Yeah, so we already talked about Linda Blair. So lots of injuries came along with it. So Linda Blair, from that fall, she had long-term back injuries, and then so did Reagan, and so the girl who played Reagan. The possessed Reagan, Ellen Burstyn. Wait.
Ellen Burstyn is the mom.
Okay, yeah, Ellen Burstyn was the mom. Sorry, Linda Blair though. So Ellen Burstyn had the actual. Sorry, I said the wrong name earlier. Then.
Okay.
Ellen Burstyn's who had the fall and who yes.
Okay.
So the mom.
Whenever she was falling back because she got pushed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then Linda Blair,
The
little girl, she, I believe, got a lot of back injuries from the way that the bed was shaking. And they literally had some sort of contraption. They would just like throw her around. And yeah, her body was just like fucking destroyed.
Not no CGI back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they really did it. And I mean, she really didn't go on to do much else after this either. No. She really kind of was just.
I think she was really typecasted too, and nobody wanted to work with girl who had a demon inside her.
They're like, nope. There was also a fire that occurred on the set, and it burned down almost everything except for Reagan's bedroom.
I read about that one time.
Which is like, that's pretty creepy.
Do you think that's tied to like, spiritual presence or something happening because of the type of film that they were making?
I mean, I feel like they're definitely. It's all like when you talk about that stuff and like you look into it, you're obviously opening some sort of doorway. You're inviting something in.
Portal.
Yeah. And so I feel like if you're sitting there actively messing with religious paraphernalia and
a cross
the
in
occult,
a
actually stabbing, like you're probably going to piss someone off
whoever
in the spiritual realm.
Higher being.
Yeah. Maybe God was like, hey, Satan, go handle this.
Or maybe God was just like, do whatever y'all want. Have fun.
Yeah.
Both of them. I don't know. That's wild, though. I don't know. I grew up in a super, religious family. And so, that's also, too, why I never, even watched it growing up.
Mm-hmm.
We could watch Blair Witch Project for some reason, The Exorcist was always just like, no, that's too far.
Yeah.
We're not, So, I didn't watch it till later. But, yeah, I even remember watching it for the first time and feeling, almost that, ooh, I don't feel like I should be watching this right now. This is it goes there.
Well, yeah, I mean, because now when I think back on it and now that I know what all those words mean too and stuff, like
when they're speaking Latin?
Well, no. Just because I think when the first time I saw it, I was pretty young. Oh, okay. So I didn't understand
snatch
lick me or fuck me. I didn't really understand. And then now I was like, oh my God, she just shoved her mom's head in her vagina.
Yeah.
What?
Or when she's talking to the priest, the fathers.
Yeah. And so it's just yeesh. I don't know. I never really realized how, borderline, even watching it last night, I was like, oh God, I'm a little uncomfortable.
It's pretty dark.
And I was really I have probably one of the most open vocabularies out there.
Yeah.
Nothing's off limits for me.
Pretty, I don't even know the word I'm looking for.
It's just yeah, I don't know. Fucked up.
Yeah.
They did a good job. As we said earlier, a bunch of people fainting, vomiting as they left the theaters. One person even blamed their miscarriage on it. So that's interesting. And it's just kind of known as one of the most notorious cursed films of all times.
I love that.
It's pretty cool.
Good little tidbit there.
Yeah.
Going back to earlier when you were talking about the radiologist, I actually enjoyed that a lot because it's it does very show the times of when the movie was made in society. And so she's trying to figure out still I don't know, a lot of newer demon possession movies. I think there was only one that I can remember, I guess Insidious, where they kind of show him going through with the doctors, but everything else is oh, Carol Ann, there might not be something wrong with her mental health. She's got a demon in her.
Yeah.
And then it just goes straight to, possession shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did like that aspect because it did kind of show more of she was trying to figure out, well, what is wrong with this child?
Yeah. Lots of stuff is going on.
This is not right.
Oh, man. And that thing they placed in her neck. I didn't like that. I was not a fan. That was...
I looked painful.
Yeah. Then there's so much blood squirting out.
Well, I was think the demon would have came out at that point.
Yeah, I've been bitch.
For real.
Don't stab me.
Oh, man. But I honestly don't know what that was. What is that, an IV they were sticking?
I don't
why?
know. I was confused.
It was definitely the 70s.
Yeah. I was like, that's a medical practice I don't understand.
And I don't think they use it anymore.
No. Because I think what they were essentially doing was an MRI.
Yeah.
And I've had quite a few MRIs due to my multiple concussions, and so I thought I've never had anything stabbed in my neck like that.
Well, I've had like x-rays done on like my abdomen and stuff before, and they hooked up an IV to me and they injected me with like these different type of like it's like metal, it's like liquids that they're putting in you, so that way whenever the machine is going around you, it sees it running through your veins or whatever, and so it's easier for it to pick up every little detail. And so that's what I thought they were doing to her first, but then I was like, no, they're taking out blood.
Yeah. Weird. Yeah, see, I had internal bleeding once, but instead of injecting it into my veins, they made me drink this nasty Route 44 drink thing that's supposed to be apple juice. And needless to say, to this day, I do not like apple juice. And that made my insides glow.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
I wish they would have put it in my vein.
It tasted like metal.
Oh, yeah. I just remember mine tasted like a poor excuse for apple juice.
It made me feel really cold everywhere, instantaneously.
I don't remember. I think I was just already in cold sweats, though, because I'd had internal bleeding for like 2 weeks.
God, Caitlin. It's okay. That's literally me. I do not go to the doctor until it's like the last.
Yeah.
I'm on the brink of death.
That's what happened. We rushed to the ER at 3 a.m. And I woke my dad up and I was like, Dad, I think I'm really sick.
You're just...
Yeah. He was like, oh, fuck.
It's the actual Exorcist.
Yeah, I'm puking there. Yeah. Anyways, they pushed a lot of boundaries in the film. It is, like we said, a classic by all means. And I think if I had to... So this is what we're going to do, y'all. We're going to give these films a boo rating, which will be little ghost or whatever, 1 to 5 stars, 5 ghost. Kind of like a star rating. You get it?
But
really
it's
smart.
Ghost.
Yeah, but with ghost.
Little boos.
We're clever.
So yeah, we're going to be rating it.
What do you rate it?
I would rate it a good 4.5, to be honest.
4.5.
4.5, a half boo.
Half boo.
There's a little half boo in there.
4.5 ghosts.
I don't know if it's an O or a boo. A bow?
BooBaes.
Okay, yeah. So I give it a 4.5.
Okay.
Boos. I would say that I really, I mean, it in itself is just such a good film. Like the whole way through, the anticipation it builds up, the escalating all the way to the final exorcism, and she's just like, thrashing in the room and stuff, and then
the makeup was incredible.
Oh, that too.
Like, they did a
really good with that.
Really good job.
I like
it. Still holds up to this day, which is a testament.
It really does. She looked really tore up. And then you're thinking too, you're like, how is this child even gonna survive whatever is happening to her?
Yeah, even I'm like, her body looks like it's broken like 18 times.
Out of her.
She gonna be dead when it comes out.
And so
it's like she's on life support, but the demon's the life support.
It's a parasite.
It's a little vessel keeping him.
So I like all of it, and I also really liked his attention to detail with the framing and like the shots, and just how beautiful it actually was too.
Oh, there was another part where, so with the stairs in that, notorious scene, there's a part where one of the characters is walking by it and like pauses and stares, and like essentially is like that he's remembering like what's
at the end.
Yeah,
Father
what's
Dyer.
happened. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And so you see that he's remembering that, and he got that idea from, he said, when he was younger and he would walk to school and on the like streets of Chicago, there was this neighborhood that he had to walk through where a pretty horrific murder took place. And essentially this young girl was dragged out from her window, decapitated, and then also dismembered, and then they just like left her body parts on the street. And so he was like, every time I walked by that neighborhood, like all I could think about was this like beheaded girl. Yeah. And so then he threw that little tidbit at the end too, because he was like, well, I've had like kind of a personal experience with something like a traumatic event. I don't think he saw the body parts, but the body parts were just like put out on the lawn. I'm sure he saw it in the paper or something.
Or even just being young, having that imprinted in your memory.
Yeah. So that was another, like, there's just so many things where, yeah, dick or not, I mean, he did a fucking stand-up job.
Fantastic job.
And the attention to detail is out of this world.
And dick or not, he got pretty great acting out of everybody too. I mean, all the acting was pretty good. I think
might be fucked up for life, but
I read
it's fine.
that Father Damien, they wanted, like, the studio wanted Al Pacino to play him.
Well, they had actually already hired another person, like Jason Peck or something. And then I forgot his name. He looked like he was a well-known actor at the time. They had to pay his full salary whenever they decided to go with who played Damien.
Well, the reason that I believe that he ended up choosing Damien is because Damien, the actor who played him, was actually his name is Jason Miller.
Yeah,
was in another film before that won like all these accolades. And
Stacy Keach was who was hired by Blatty to play him, but Friedkin then found Paul Newman and said, no, I want him. Because he had seen a play with him in it.
That's what it was.
And then he had said something, and then I guess he read the script, and he called up, what's his face? Friedrich. I can't say his name. Why can't I remember his name? Friedkin. Called up him, and he said, I am this person. Like, I am Damien. And he was like, okay, cool, but we've already hired this other guy. Yeah. And so he was like, no, I need to play this role. And he was like, you're literally, what? No. And then he was like, just shoot a scene with me. Let me show you. And so then he was like, okay, you can fly out here on your own dime and
throw you a bone.
Like, yeah. And he's like, but you already know that we've hired someone. So he did. And then he did like 3 different scenes. And then afterwards he was like, he called the people and was like, yeah, get rid of Stacy. Like,
this is the guy.
Yeah. He's like, I want this guy. And they were like, are you shitting me? He's a nobody. Like, he's literally, he's been in a play. That's what you heard him from. And then he was like, yeah, I don't care. He's who I want. So put him in. So they did.
Out.
And they had to pay Stacy Keach's whole salary in full, which I was like, damn. But
hey, what you do for the art.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyways, well, I think I'd give it. Well, now I feel inclined to give it 4.5 too.
No, you don't. You give it whatever rating you want to.
I feel like I was originally thinking 4, so I'll just go there. I mean, it is a very good one.
That gives it a solid overall rating of 4.
Yeah, it's not my favorite horror film of all time. I feel like once I rate more, I'll be like, oh no, I was too forgiving on some, and then too strict on others.
We have no precedent.
Yeah, maybe in a year I'll change that. I'll say, oh, JK, I want this one to be another rating.
These boos are subject to change.
Yes, these boos are subject to change once we get more educated.
Get into figuring out our whole rating system of what criteria makes a good.
This is test run pilot episode.
This is
the pilot episode.
So I guess also too for the criteria, I mean, for me at least, it's what was the emotion that I felt, the cinematography and how it looks, and then the acting.
Yeah. And the acting was good.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, sometimes questionably, unfortunately, acting in horror movies can be a little bit
very bad.
Cringe. So it really holds up.
Forced.
It really holds up.
Yeah.
Because it's almost more so a drama as well.
Yeah. Because, like, absolutely none of that seemed forced. It just was very natural. And you were like, I'm not questioning the fact that this person is acting right now. Like, I mean, because I don't, like, it just seems so real. Because then there's some where you watch it and you're like, ooh, you can tell that that's not the way they would have said that, or like they're putting more inflection,
or it's too forced, or yeah, the dialogue almost seems like fake.
Exactly. Well, that is all I have for The Exorcist. Any closing notes?
Just be careful with which Ouija board you play with and what you invite in.
Always make sure you say goodbye. Yeah, if you don't say goodbye, you're fucked. If a demon named Zozo pops up, or it keeps going between yes and no and just flying all over the board, say goodbye immediately.
Pazuzu the demon.
Yeah, Pazuzu could come out. A little panini.
I love that. Yeah, which also, I mean, side quick note too, my sister had a friend back in high school who played with the Ouija board. And that friend, I guess, messed with some stuff that she shouldn't have messed with. And she started like waking up with scratches on her body.
Demons.
And so she
Were they 3s?
I'm not sure. So she ended up telling her mother, because her mom didn't know that like she was playing it with her cousins and stuff and hiding it under the bed. And so they then she told her, and so they decided to go throw it away. And they went and threw it away in like not just like their garbage can, but like I think the city garbage or the dump, and that she woke up the next day and that it was on her front porch.
Nope. Hard pass. It's like when you throw away a haunted doll. Annabelle did that.
Oh, yeah.
Not my Annabelle.
And she came back, yeah.
Yeah, but Annabelle, the real Annabelle. But yeah, so, well, welcome to the first, and thank you for listening to the first episode of BooBaes.
BooBaes, thank you.
It's been fun. Few closing remarks. You can, first off, we're recording in the wonderful Rogue Media Network studios.
Very wonderful.
They have been so gracious as to help us get this up and off the ground. And yeah, longtime friends. So we're happy to be here. It's a good community, bunch of good shows on this network. So
yeah, make sure you check them all out.
Yeah, exactly. Not just us, even though I know we're the best.
Yeah.
They're like, you just started and we already hate you.
No viewership.
But yeah, so thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us. Really, right now, we're only on Instagram. If any more of this changes, maybe eventually we will start a Patreon and stuff like that, and get a website or something. But for now, you can find us on Instagram, and that is...
at BooBaes Podcast.
That's right. All one word. BooBaes, and that is just like it says on our cover art. It's going to be BOOBAES, because we're baes. Both of us are sexy motherfuckers.
All the way.
That's right. Also, we never talked about how we knew each other, but that's okay. We'll save it for another time.
Next time. We got plenty to cover.
That's right. And then you can also find us on all streaming platforms, really. So that's going to be stuff like Apple Podcast.
Spotify.
That's right. You can also find us on Stitcher and Google Play, and also Pandora.
There we go.
That's right. Well, sorry. I know.
If any more
I've had a
come
lot
up,
of
we'll
practice
let you know.
with how many ones come up. But also do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. That is literally the only way we can become any amount of relevant. But yes, so stay tuned for next week. We will be talking about the new Conjuring film.
The Devil Made Me Do It.
That's right, the third Conjuring. I know we're kind of skipping around, not starting with the first Conjurings, but we both watched it.
Boo for now.
Boo for now.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast. Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Mike.
And we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros, Foes, Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hi, I'm Hank. You might remember me from a show called King of the Hill. Check out a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. These boys ain't right, but they are funny. Find the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com. I tell you what.